And we are rolling on all fronts. Okay. Hey there, welcome to the breakdown video for my new song, Wood. So the initial inspiration for this song was pieces of wood that I had laying around that I decided to sample and turn into a musical kind of rhythmic groove type thing. And as you can see here, all of these little samples, all these tiny little chopped up notes, these are little bits from sounds of wood that I had cut up and retimed, and then I bounced them all down and turned them into these sounds. Now the very first sound that you hear in this song, the intro sound, is this whisper. And that's me actually whispering lyrics, and then I turn them around backwards. And this sound right here is kind of going on in the background. It's a little bit behind everything else, so it may not be really obvious. Actually, a single sample from a piece of wood, just one clunk sound, that I EQ'd and turned into a much more kind of refined pitch. And then I put it into an arpeggiator and created these little arpeggiated sounds. So for the bass part in this intro, I took the same little clunk sound from the piece of wood that I had used to make that arpeggiated line. I took it down a couple octaves and then make a duplicate version of it and took it down some more octaves and EQ'd it a bunch and put some reverb on it and compressed it, and it sounds like this. This is actually just a little clunk from a piece of wood. Now, some of this stuff I showed in a previous video, how to make music from a piece of wood. You can find that on my channel and see a little bit more in detail about how I turned just a clunk sound into like a note, and then how to manipulate the note and stuff like that. Another thing that really gives this intro section life, in my opinion, is the sound of an upright bass, creating this kind of screeching, screaming, wailing sound. So the way I got this sound was I was at a recording session with my dad. My father is a upright bass player, and as well as an electric bass player, but he's done classical music performance and stuff like that forever. And he just happened to have his upright bass out that day, and we were playing around with him making weird sounds with the bow on the bass. And this is like a combination of a harmonic and a kind of an out of tune note that I ended up going and tuning in the DAW to fit the key of my song. It ended up really sounding super cool, and so I thought this would be something that really cool that a lot of people could use and would like to probably have maybe in for their own music. And so we recorded a bunch of these really interesting, unique sounds, and I'm making a sample pack out of them. If this kind of sound is interesting to you at all, I'll have the link in the description of the video below where you can go and download this sample pack if you want. Let's have a look at some of these vocal parts. These actually have a bunch of different harmonies in here. Let's listen to just some of the harmonies. A lot of this is really out of my comfortable singing range, some of these harmonies, because I've got a really low voice. I ended up blending them in and mixing them in, and they sound pretty cool together, all together like this.
10,000 tears rain down from the sky as the stars weep for me.
So I wasn't initially intending to add lyrics to this song. This was just going to be kind of an instrumental, electronic, symphonic type thing. And as I was creating the track, I found myself just humming along and kind of singing along nonsense words. And I realized there was something I really had a desire, a kind of inner urge to sing on this track. And I thought, well, if it's speaking to me that way, then I really should add this to here. So as I was kind of humming along and singing along, I really had to think about where the wood came from and the story of a piece of wood and kind of the life of a piece of wood, and tried to come up with an angle for how to write this thing and how to create a story there. And there really was one after I thought about it for long enough. I realized that the story of the life of a tree and the death of a tree and its coming to terms with its life and death and the continuance of its existence as someone's home or as a piece of wood for someone to use. It was kind of a compelling story on its own.
10,000 tears rain down from the sky as the stars weep for me.
So let's listen to just some of the orchestration here now behind the intro section. You'll hear cellos and violins and some choral stuff. Let's have a listen. So now here's that intro section with just my vocal parts and the orchestration without any of the rhythmic stuff. So check this out.
10,000 tears rain down from the sky as the stars weep for me. Sunlight and storm, every day of life I loved.
So that brings us now to the groove section. Maybe the best thing to talk about in the groove section is this vocal stuff that's going on.
I'm here beside you, anytime your heart calls out.
So what's actually happening here is all that is the vocals retuned and retimed and chopped up and everything. This is what the vocals look like when you split them down into their different parts.
I'm here beside you, anytime your heart calls.
They're all grayed out here because I've bounced them into a single file up here so that they're just easier to put some effects on. So the reason I've got them on all these separate tracks is because I decided to separate them by how much I was pitch shifting them. And actually over here you can see, -5, +3, +7. And I also decided to pan a bunch of the individual chops separately, left and right and stuff like that. And then later on, in some of the later effects I did, I added a wah, some wah effects, and some different things to it. And I just kept it organized by track layer here. So yes, there is no easy way to get this sound that I was going for here. It just literally took listening to the vocal part and kind of picking a rhythm that I wanted it to be, and then figuring out how I wanted each bit of that rhythm to alter. So that's it for part 1 of this breakdown video. If you guys want a part 2, let me know in the comments and I'll go into depth with some more of the rest of the song and how I did some of the other little things in there. Okay, so peace out. See y'all later.